Here's something nobody tells you when you start flight training. You can know every single answer in your test prep. You can score 95 on your written, and you can still sit down across from an examiner and freeze on a question you actually know the answer to. Because the oral isn't testing whether you know the material. It's testing whether you can explain it out loud, organized, while someone is looking right at you and asking you why. Knowing and explaining are two completely different skills. So today, I'm going to show you 5 questions that quietly feel well prepared applicants. Not because they didn't study, but because nobody ever taught them how to say the answer. If we haven't met, I'm Habib. I'm a flight instructor and I run Aero Global Aviation Academy down in Kissimmee, Florida. I've helped a lot of students get to their check ride, and I've sat in on more oral exam debriefs than I can count. And I promise you, the same handful of questions trip people up over and over again. So let's fix that right now. For each one, I'll show you the answer most students give, why it doesn't land, and the answer that actually passes. Stick around to the end of this video. I have a free resource that will help you practice all 5 questions. Let's get into it. So the examiner looks at you and asks, so can we fly today? Sounds simple, right? That's the trap. Most students answer with a verdict. They say things like, yes, it looks good, or no, the weather is bad. And the second you give a yes or no answer, you've told your examiner nothing about how you actually think, because they're not asking for your conclusion. They're testing your decision making skills. So here's the answer that passes. Don't give a verdict, just give them a process. I would say, I'll treat this as a go or no go decision, and I'll run it through the PAVE acronym. P is for pilot. Am I good to go as a pilot? I run the I'm safe checklist and I check my currency. A is for aircraft. Is the aircraft airworthy? Do we have fuel? And the V part is slightly weird, but V is for environment. I'll pull a standard weather briefing, so my meters, taps, winds aloft, any EMETs, NOTAMs, SIGMETs. I'll compare all of it against my personal minimums. And E is for external pressures. Am I feeling any external pressure? Like I get there, is there any reason I want this flight to work that might cloud my judgment? Only after I've worked all 4 do I answer. Given today's conditions, my decision is this because of that. Same knowledge, completely different impression. One sounds like a guess, and the other sounds like a pilot. And one small thing that makes examiners trust you instantly is actually have your personal minimums memorized. Have a real crosswind number. When you can say, my personal minimums for crosswind is 12 knots, they relax because they know you thought about this before today. Question 2. Examiner asks, what documents do you need on board the aircraft? Almost everyone nails the first half. They say Aero, which is the acronym ARROW, airworthiness, registration, radio license, operating limitations, with a balance. Boom, you get it right. But then the examiner leans in and asks the one word that empties most students' head. He says why. And that's where it all falls apart. So let's actually understand it, not just spell it. Airworthiness certificate. That proves the aircraft met its type design and is in a condition for a safe flight. It doesn't expire, but, and this matters a lot, it's only valid as long as the inspections and maintenance stay current. Now, your registration, ownership, and nationality. That's what it proves. Your radio station license. Here's a great one. You only need that for international operations. If you're flying to the Bahamas, yes, you need it. If you're staying in the US, you don't. Knowing that one detail tells the examiner you understand the rules rather than reciting arrow or just reciting the word. Operating limitations, that's your POH. So your placards, your markings, the rules for this specific airplane. And the last one, the W, is your weight and balance. Do you have current data so you can prove you're loaded within the limits of the airplane? So it's the same acronym everybody knows, but now you can explain every letter. That's what separates you. So, question 3, the examiner asks, walk me through the airspace we'll be flying in. This is where I watch students just scatter. They start naming classes in whatever order pops into their head. Be like, this is a class D, and Bravo's over there, and I think this is Echo. It sounds disorganized, which makes the examiner think your understanding is disorganized. We don't want that. So here's the fix, and it's simple. Go from top down and use the same 4 buckets for every class. Don't jump around. And for every class you touch, you answer the same 4 things. What clearance or communication do I need? What equipment, transponder, ADSB out? What are the VFR weather minimums? And what are the dimensions of the airspace? So instead of scattering, you say, right now, we're on the surface in class Delta. So I need two-way radio communication established before I enter. I need a transponder with ADSB out, and the weather minimum is 3 miles with standard cloud clearances, and it tops out around 2,500 feet AGL. Then you move on to the next chunk of airspace and run the same exact 4 buckets. Same exact information the disorganized student had, but now it sounds like a system because it is one. Question 4. And this one is deadly because the wrong answer actually sounds right. So the examiner is like, what makes a wing stall? 9 out of 10 students say flying too slow. And the examiner just waits because that answer is incomplete and they've got a follow up locked and loaded. Trust me. The answer that passes is one phrase. A wing stalls when it exceeds its critical angle of attack. That's the only cause. Here's how you prove you actually get it. You say something like this. A wing can stall at any airspeed, any altitude, and any power setting because it actually can. In a steep turn, or if you pull back abruptly, you increase the load factor. The wing needs a higher angle of attack to hold you up, and you can stall it while you're flying fast. That's an accelerated stall. So when they ask what makes a wing stall, you don't talk about speed. Just say exceeding the critical angle of attack and watch the expression change. That one phrase is the difference between a student who memorized and a pilot who actually understands. So last question. The examiner asks you're 3,500 feet and the engine goes quiet. What do you do? The instinct, the one thing that spills out of nervous students is they say, I'll find a field and land. Which, yes, eventually, but you skip the single most important thing. And if you skip it in the airplane, it can kill you. The answer that passes has an order to it. Aviate, navigate, communicate. I say first, I'll fly the airplane before anything else. I pitch for best glide airspeed. Why that first? Because airspeed buys me the most time and the most distance. And time or distance are options. Then I navigate. I pick a landing spot, ideally into the wind. Then I troubleshoot with my flow. I check my fuel selector, my fuel quantity, mixture, make sure mixture is rich, carb heat if I have one. My mags, I'll make sure my primer is in a locked. I'll check my fuel pump. I'm basically just trying to get the aircraft running again. If it won't restart, then I communicate. I declare an emergency on 121.5. I squawk 7700, secure the engine, brief my passengers, and commit to the landing. Notice the first words out of my mouth were, I'll fly the airplane. Start every emergency answer that way. Examiners are practically begging to hear it because in the airplane, that's the instinct that saves you. Now, here's what I want you to notice. Go back through all 5 questions. Not one of them required knowledge you don't already have or won't have well before your check ride. Every passing answer used the same exact facts that the filling answer had. What changed was the structure. There's a decision run in order, an acronym you can actually explain, a system with 4 buckets, one precise phrase, a sequence that starts with fly the airplane. That's the whole game. The oral isn't won by knowing more. It's won by being able to say what you know out loud and organized. Under a little pressure, obviously, because of the check ride. And that's a skill you can practice. So here's the free resource that I promised. I put together a free brief 10 oral exam questions, just like this five, each with a thin answer, the answer that passes, and a tip. It's completely free. If you're watching on YouTube, the link is right in the description. And if you found this on Instagram or TikTok, just comment the word oral and I'll send it straight to you. Make sure you read it, then close it, and practice saying the answer out loud. That's the part that actually sticks. And if you want the full system, which is every ACS area taught exactly like this, with a mock oral that you can actually practice against, that's what we build the pilot ground briefs for. You can use the same link. Do me a favor and subscribe if this helped you. I make these videos every week. And remember, at Aero Global, that's what we do. We're where pilots are made. I'm Pilot Habib. Remember to train smart and fly confident. And I'll see you in the next one.